Despierta. ¿Sabes qué día es hoy? Vas a transformar al mundo haciendo lo que amas. Vas a cambiar las reglas del juego. Vas a mover a otros. Busca, crea, innova, vuela. El mundo te espera. Transfórmalo. Hazlo, UPAEP.
Muy buenas tardes. Tengo el gusto de presentarles al ponente de hoy, el doctor Juan Manuel López Oglesby. El doctor Juan Manuel López Oglesby obtuvo su Engineering BS de la LeTourneau University en Longview, Texas, y su MS en Engineering and PhD en Biomedical Engineering en Louisiana Tech en Ruston. Ha sido miembro fundador de 2 fundaciones de investigación y académicas y de la Oficina de Transferencia de Tecnología de la UPAEP. Es representante de Ciencias externo para el Comité de Investigación COFEPRIS del Estado de Puebla. Ha dirigido a 33 alumnos de maestría y doctorado en diversas disciplinas. Además de sus experiencias académicas, ha trabajado en la industria automotriz, generación eléctrica y petroquímica, con experiencias en proyectos individuales y responsabilidades en ingeniería industrial de procesos, tubería, mecánica y civil, además de ingeniería forense, diagnóstico y solución de problemas in situ, arranque de plantas y paradas programadas de planta, y es el líder de IIDEAS que tiene lugar todos los miércoles y viernes. Bienvenidos.
Muchas gracias. Y gracias a todos por estar aquí. Because we're trying to make this a slightly more international event, every once in a while we're going to have some of these conferences in English. So bear with us, enjoy it, get a little bit more in depth. And this is an international topic that generally all the textbooks and work and everything is taught in English as well. Little commercial, you can stop and ask questions at any time, but since we're transmitting live and then this will be on YouTube, to be able to participate, just press the little button, the green light will come on, you're transmitting, and then when you're done talking, you can press the button and be done. Now, for those of you that have done any programming, the title is a little bit of an inside joke. It's like an HTML tag, where artificial intelligence is the modifier of us. Okay? You can also see it just textually and visually. Artificial intelligence surrounds us. Artificial intelligence modifies us. Artificial intelligence is a part of describing us today. Okay, so what can we... I think you have to go out and back for some of these videos to work. Let's see if this makes any sense to us. If our internet connection works. Está un poco lenta la... Tenemos como 3 diferentes cortas videos. Le vuelvo a dar. For the most part, we now carry all of this in a much smaller version. Right? This would have probably been classified as supercomputer back in the 1980s, early 1990s. Now most of us spend our lives frustrated at how slow it is. It's not instantaneous enough. So thinking about artificial intelligence today, let me ask you a question. How many of you have interacted with an artificial intelligence today? Raise your hand. You don't believe you have. You do. Can you give me some examples?
When you call by telephone and you want this with this number, and you can repeat words.
So you can speak to the system and it'll recognize your words, your specific choices. Anybody else? Nobody has interacted. How about any time we've used our phones? You realize for most of you, your phone is actively listening to you right now. It's waiting for a keyword, a wake-up word. Siri, OK Google, Hey Google. So it is processing our voice. It is processing everything that we're saying, searching for that wake-up word. Continuously, constantly monitoring everything that happens around us. Email. Who sorts your email? There's some unhappy little dude in a room somewhere going, that's probably spam. That's spam. This guy from Nigeria really needs to talk to you. Okay? What about whenever we're using maps, tracing out a route, seeing how busy a restaurant is. Ride sharing. For most of us, ride sharing is a competitive artificial intelligence where two or more artificial intelligences are proposing a route, a driver, a pathway, and then the best one wins. Okay? Artificial intelligence is most visible in our virtual assistants. You can pop up your phone and say, program this for me, do that for me, wake me up at this time, remind me to call so-and-so. I have a little Google Home next to my bed, and I can tell it what time to wake me up with what music in the morning. It turns on my lights 15 minutes before I wake up, just so that my room is a little bit more conducive to being awake. It tells me my morning briefing. It explains what my commute is like, if there are any backlogs, blocks. It reads me news from my 5 news sources as I wake up, check my email. Okay? We are surrounded by artificial intelligence. And most of us are not thinking about the depth to which artificial intelligence has invaded our lives. Okay? But it's there. So what is artificial intelligence? All right, so it depends on the researcher, the consultant, the company, what they're trying to sell you. The definitions can be quite diverse. All right? Also depends on the point of view of the person. These can be amazing, wonderful things that are the best thing in the world, or they are the future doom of mankind. Have you seen the Terminator movies? They're going to kill us. Okay? We need to learn about these things to avoid fantasies and exaggerations. Artificial intelligence is a tool. It's not inherently evil. It's not inherently good. What we choose to do with it modifies that. I like this video by Intel that gives us a pretty brief introduction. Just a little bit, a minute. What is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning?
Artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. For anyone who's not a data scientist, the terms associated with computing's next big wave can be pretty confusing. But at the most basic level, the relationship between these 3 key concepts is fairly simple. Artificial intelligence refers to the broad category of computing in which a system is capable of learning directly from data.
a capability made possible by the advent of data analytics and applied either through a set of rules that are evolved over time through human intervention with the system, or increasingly through the process of machine learning, in which the system expands its ability to process and use information without the need for additional human intervention. While the broader concept of artificial intelligence has been around since the 1950s, it was the introduction of machine learning in the 80s that brought the first real wave of significant advancements to the field. Then, as computational performance reached a tipping point in the last decade, a new wave of even more dramatic breakthroughs began to gather momentum. Deep learning is a branch or subset of machine learning that leverages those computational advantages and a set of new techniques, such as neural networks, to make sense of and learn from even larger amounts of data. The result has been an impressive acceleration in the progress of elusive artificial intelligence capabilities. Capabilities like image, speech, and natural language recognition that promise to have a significant positive impact on our everyday lives. The emergence of deep learning also serves as a reminder that the technology and techniques for achieving the full potential of artificial intelligence are not static, but will continue to evolve just like us.
Okay? So, this is a pretty bold statement by Google's CEO, and he considers the development of artificial intelligence as important for humanity in our next set of advancement as the development of fire or electricity. It will fundamentally transform our ability to do things, our ability to be productive, our ability to be safe, our ability to be dominant. Okay? So, you may agree, you may disagree. I recommend you read the text. Okay? The applications to so many different areas of research are truly impressive. And the simplification has been truly amazing. 5-10 years ago, doing advanced neural network stuff was going to require a deep-seated understanding of programming. Nowadays, we have simple tools like Google's TensorFlow, an open source, free solution you can go out there and download for yourself. You can get lots of tutorials, see lots of people explaining how to do things online. Okay? And it's deployed in such a way that most anybody could implement it. You can run it on a single machine. There's a longer YouTube example that's about 7 minutes, which I won't show, and there's this 30-second example from the same person showing an implementation of Google's TensorFlow for image classification. So you are feeding the program real-time imaging data from a video, and then the program is going to classify things with a percentage certainty. I believe this is a car. That's an 89% certainty. I believe this is a truck with a 93% certainty. Okay? And then this will go on to other things. It will look at road signs. It's going to misidentify things. It's going to look at road signs and some of the lights and think of them as kites. Okay? So let's see this in action. This comes from a free piece of software that you can then train to do this. Motorcycle, person, motorcycle, road sign, car. It didn't know if it was a car or a truck. It was so big. So it wavered for a minute. That's definitely a truck. That was a kite. It's not perfect. But it is a very simple tool that can give you very powerful results. Okay? How many of you, especially in the programming side, had heard of TensorFlow as an open source project? It's been around for a while. Okay. How about DeepMind and Deep Dream? Now that's some freaky stuff. Okay. It is also based on a lot of this open source deep neural network learning technology. And the DeepMind and Deep Dream are not really practical tools necessarily. They are tools to help you understand how artificial intelligence is processing an image if you give it a known data set, if you give it some fundamentals from which to start, and then it magnifies and amplifies the features that the artificial intelligence is seeing in your data, your visual data. And so this helps you understand how applying different kinds of filters and processing and everything could magnify features in the images you're giving it. So let's look at a couple of examples. They can be beautiful and disturbing, aside from the subject matter. Okay? There's the original image on the left, where a deeply disturbed individual is giving, oh, it's a different kind of disturbing. Okay? On the right, we are seeing the amplifications of features, the filtering and the processing that the Deep Dream is giving it. Okay? We see there's a lot of kind of fractal patterns when we're looking at a lot of these Deep Dream amplifications. One of the newest tools has been a way of generating kind of fake processes, which could be dangerous in the future. I can give you a Picasso painting and then give you a photo of your girlfriend and say, draw my girlfriend like Picasso would. And it will apply the Picasso filter to that image. Okay? Now that seems fun, but without careful application, we could get into some really dangerous territory. 3 different levels of depth. We did a Deep Dream, we processed that same Deep Dream again, and we processed it again. Okay? So you can end up deciding, look, we're getting a lot of these focal points, right? We understand there's a lot of curves and sweeping in here, and this is going to help us understand a little bit about our image processing and recognition. Okay? So they're fun little tools. They are limited in the sense that you have to sign up with like a Google or a Facebook account, and it will limit the number of times you can process an image because it's taking up their processor time, their server time, their bandwidth. So they're not just going to let you reprocess a Star Wars film frame by frame just for funsies. How many of you have heard of the game Go? The ancient game Go. Thousands of years old. Okay? Looks like a modified version of checkers played with rocks, little polished rocks. It is considered one of the most complex games humanity has ever developed. It has been around for thousands of years because of that. And up until very recently, no computer was good enough to beat a good human at Go. Computers beat chess players 25 years ago. But it was only very recently the computers were able to beat humans at Go. Okay? So if you haven't heard of Go, you probably haven't heard of AlphaGo. That was an early attempt at beating humans with an artificial intelligence developed specifically, trained on the game. Okay? And if you hadn't heard of AlphaGo, you probably hadn't heard of AlphaZero, but AlphaZero was no longer programmed or trained by humans. AlphaZero was programmed by playing other artificial intelligence and only being given the visual information on the board. No other rules, no other explanations, no other previous knowledge. And so then you'll play, you're the new artificial intelligence, and you play 1,000 games against AlphaGo. The winners are then multiplied and play another 1,000 games against AlphaGo until you get so good that you're beating AlphaGo every time. Then AlphaZero plays AlphaZero. And alpha 0 continues to play alpha 0, and we select the most advanced network to win and go on to the next round. Okay? So, this little table, the first AlphaGo fan required 176 graphical processing units, graphics cards, on many different machines. At its best iteration, it won 5-0 versus a human champion. It beat the human. That's a big machine. 176 parallel processing graphics cards. We can't afford it. Okay? AlphaGo Lee, 48 tensor processing units. These are chips specifically designed to work with the TensorFlow-like artificial intelligence language. 48 of them managed to go 4-1 versus a human champion. And we get to an AlphaGo Master, 4 tensor processing units on a single machine. How much have we managed to scale the success of this device? It manages to go 60-0 versus professionals. And so then we get to the artificial intelligence that is no longer programmed by people. It's an artificial intelligence programmed and modified by other artificial intelligences. It plays 100 games of the AlphaGo Lee that beat human champions, and it beats it every time. Alpha 0, 4 TPUs, single machine. It beat 60-40, a 3-day AlphaGo 0. It had been only training for 3 days. The first AlphaGo Lee, took months to train. AlphaGo 0 took days. You went from hundreds of machines to one machine. Okay? This is the pace at which the world is developing artificial intelligence. If you are not at least aware of what's going on, you are behind. Okay? This is what a talk like this is supposed to give. What other applications do we have? We're looking at the detection of the science community, the detection of breast cancer versus benign lesions, saving many thousands of lives and many, many millions of dollars in unnecessary biopsies. Okay? Writing new artificial intelligence to deal with more complex problems that our programmers are unable to get to an easy solution to. In that article, it also talks about our relationship to artificial intelligence, and 88% of the people that were interviewed said, I'd be comfortable working with an AI. Okay. 91% thought that they would be comfortable managing an AI. So there's human hubris for you. I'd be more comfortable being the boss. Okay. Co-worker, that's okay. But when I'm the boss, it's even better. Okay. Now, very recently, we've had some tremendous advances in this generation's science goals. Okay? And you would be correct in accusing me of being a fanboy. That's all right. I'll own it. I'm enough of a geek and a nerd, depending on what we're talking about, to own this. But these images are possible due to the large amounts of real-time data processing that occurred. Okay? Inexpensive, relatively, flight to space. Currently, the Space Launch System by NASA expects it to be over $2 billion. $2 billion per launch. SpaceX puts on their website that it's about a $90 million cost to launch if you want to get your equipment and satellite into space. Okay? Did you guys see any of this stuff live? Or watch it on YouTube? Those are 16 stories tall. They are 4 edificiotes stacked up on top of each other, landing simultaneously, side by side, on the same landing zone. No humans were in charge. The machines were running the show. Okay? What a lot of people argue is the world's most expensive car commercial. It's still inspirational, because what matters is that we inspire the next round of designers, programmers, engineers to do something that people 20 years ago would have thought impossible. I'm going to launch my car into space, and I'm going to take pictures with the Earth behind us. Okay? The last official picture of Starman leaving Earth orbit and heading on to its million-year orbit out to the asteroid belt. And recently, they produced this 1-minute video, 1.5-minute video, that shows us the degree of excitement being generated.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mommy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view, and she's hooked to the silver screen. But the film is a sad thing for she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools if they ask her to focus on fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those gay men go. It's a freaky show. Take a look at the low man beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the destiny show. Is their life on Mars?
Made on Earth by humans. Do you realize how many years it has been since children have been this excited about a space launch? Since humanity's logged on to see, either on the old television. My grandfather was in Puebla when they did the landing on the moon. People bought televisions to see this happen. Okay? This is made possible by these machines. It's no longer possible to do this kind of work by hand, to program it, to generate the best algorithm that's going to deal with these turbulent re-entries, to deal with synchronizing what we need to do. I also appreciate the fact that they included their failure. Did you see the first rocket crash into the ocean? They ran out of fuel. They're going to correct that mistake next time. Okay. We've got other things. Security cameras are recognizing the faces of trusted people. As you're walking up to ring the doorbell, the camera decides, this is my friend Madhu. I'm going to tell you directly on your phone. Oh, this is somebody in a DHL uniform. I think you need to know your package is here. This is a complete stranger. I'm going to alert you a different way. Okay? Automated alerts about bank fraud or cloning. Again, there's not some poor sad sack sitting in a corner somewhere going, I really know Edgar. He never buys from Walmart. Okay? Monitoring the wear on production lines and telling you to do preventative maintenance. Okay? Saving you time, money, downtime. And how does all this apply to us as individuals? Now, whatever area of work, research, discipline we may find ourselves in, AI is going to become a part of what we're doing. It's inescapable. Okay? There's a practical business example from the CEO of StatWorks. And he uploaded a data set that he'd collected free and openly from NASDAQ and the S&P. And he demonstrated how to put together a short little TensorFlow program with that open source software. Well, I decided it was boring to do exactly the same thing over again. The link is there at the bottom to see how he did it. So I simply took his data and I built my own neural network in MATLAB. Okay? I won't bore you with all the details, but let me give you the highlights. The software ran on my single laptop with a single GPU. I was preparing another version of this kind of talk in Spanish, running PowerPoint and multiple other programs at the same time. YouTube, Google Play Music, and 2 different online backup softwares were running. And yet, running this neural network consumed only 30% of my laptop's resources. It's a Core i7 with an NVIDIA 970M video processing card. Okay? In just 1 hour, the average prediction of the next minute's S&P value from the stock market was 0.6 points on a scale of over 2,000. Okay? That is an error of approximately 0.03% in prediction. That was the training phase. This is kind of the way that computer screen looked right then. We've got the PowerPoint running in the background. We've got a diagram of the neural network that MATLAB helped create. It's only gone through 40 iterations of training this network. At this point, I'd let it go beyond that 1 hour. We're looking at 1 hour and 32 minutes. It's telling you all the different parameters. This is the best training performance as it approaches 0 error. Okay? These are the regressions, where you're looking at your expected value and your return value. The fit is 0.99988. This is the curve of stock market data painted over with the predictions from the neural network. So that's training. What happens when you try the implementation? So after a few more hours, I let it run overnight. It did not improve. We had reached peak effectiveness. Okay? So, post-training, the error went up, plus or minus 1.5 points when the S&P is 2,500. How many of your stockbrokers and investment people would like to be able to predict within 1 point the next minute's stock market move? An error of 0.075%. In fact, over 4,000 minutes of data were predicted that had never been seen by the neural network. The biggest error was 0.5%. This is a histogram of the errors. 4,000 minutes of data. This line is 0 error. We have 2 or 3 items that are off by 10 points on a scale of 2,500. Okay? Now, there's some caveats to this data. We should not take this example as a reason that you are all now going to get rich quick, that you came to this conference and you know I can load this into MATLAB. Okay? Why is this not going to happen? Anybody, can you give me a potential flaw in my get-rich-quick thinking? That's the major flaw. Okay? We were playing with a static version of the market, data that already exists. Nobody else is moving, nobody else is participating, nobody else is playing the game. In that static world, I can predict with a great degree of certainty. But that's not the world we live in. The large trading firms now compete for space physically close to the servers at the stock market. And do you know why? Because at the speed of light, being another half a kilometer further away than your competition means that they are a few nanoseconds faster than you to the trade, and they will beat you, and their AI is going to win. So now, the nanoseconds that it takes for light to go over their fiber optic connections to the trading floors matter. Because the current state of data that I have is now 15 nanoseconds older than yours. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these programmers and server farms. I can guarantee you that my 1-hour neural network will fail catastrophically versus them. Okay? So that's the major caveat. There are others, though. Washington Post, World Economic Forum, both explain that up to 60% of all stock market trading is now done by quants. Quantified or quant trading. Okay? Predictive instead of just because we're seeing a trend. And only 10% of all stock market trades are now human. Okay? That world is only going to become more complex as time goes on. Okay? Here's the other problem. GIGO. Those of you in programming, if you've heard of GIGO, the big old GIGO problem. Garbage in, garbage out. How you program, how you set up the training, what you put into your system determines what that system thinks, knows, tries, predicts. And we're starting to see problems and biases in our training. Okay? Let me give you a few chilling examples. In one article, labeling black people as criminals at twice the rate of white people in their database. That guy looks shady. And not a pun. It literally means that guy looks shady, he might be a criminal. Okay? Automatically translating. This is interesting. You take a language that had gender-neutral words for certain professions. There is no gender associated with them. And when you translate them, the high-powered professions had male terms and the support staff had female terms. Oh, el neurocirujano, la secretaria. Okay? We're building in biases that we aren't aware of. This one is pretty bad. Asking Asian users of a typical camera app if they had blinked during the taking of a picture. Okay? All of these examples are terrible, but they have occurred. So that means that how we train software will impact the usefulness of that software. it doesn't care. It has no feelings. It's not worried about being racist or about misclassifying you. It's doing what it does. Okay? Ethics become a major concern. How many of you here are studying some form of programming, computer science, or coding? Everybody worries about the 1%. You are the 2%. 2% of the world knows how to code. Okay? But that 2% is generating 100% of the software that humanity depends on right now. That's going to change. That neural network that I showed you, at the end it said, by the way, would you like to save this in other useful forms? I can write the script for you so that you never have to do all this setup again. And I said, sure, write the script. I can write an extended version of script with comments for you. Would you like that as well? Absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I can save this as a runnable Simulink model. Would you also like that? Totally. Do I ever have to think about how I did that again? And I could give it a bunch more data and a bunch more setups and a bunch more scenarios, and now the computer has helped me never have to remember how I set that up again. Artificial intelligence that writes artificial intelligence could then mean that a psychologist can sit at her computer and say, I'd really like a new program that helps me determine inherent racial bias in people out of these text responses. And the computer will go, okie dokie. And then she'll get her results and be super happy. Okay? This sounds like an amazing future world, right? Democratization of programming is incredible. Thank you. Bring it on. Make it part of a Google search. Would you like a program to do that for you? AlphaGo experiments, like I said, were not programmed, the final ones, by humans. Now, I think we skipped over one there. Yeah, so I told you about the neural network saving its own coding for me. Can you think of any examples why this could be a bad idea? Let me give you a creepy one. You saw how easy it is to set up TensorFlow to recognize people, right? What's your name? Vittorio. I'm going to buy a webcam and a simple Wi-Fi access point, and I'm going to put it across the street from where Vittorio lives. I'm going to train this program to tell me only when Vittorio arrives, when he leaves. Is he alone? Is he on a bicycle? Is he on a motorcycle? Is he in a car? All I care about is Vittorio. Do I need to know a lot of programming to have a computer program that will now inform me of all of Vittorio's movements in and out, his habits, his moments, when he's alone, when he needs to send me a little alert? In fact, could I save myself all the trouble and buy a $250 doorbell and just hang it on a post near his house and have the programming already done for me? I'll just tell the program that Vittorio is my best friend. Please tell me every time he's close. Is that slightly creepy? Does it worry you just a little bit? Okay. The democratization with no ethical rules, boundaries, or thought can be a problem. Okay. So, I recommend this video series as a whole. Adam Ruins Everything is magnificent. Watch it, enjoy it, watch every episode that they have, feel particularly sad about the future of humanity, and then, watch like puppies dance to music or something to get over it. But Adam Ruins Everything has an excellent video on the cost of free. Okay? We collectively, humanity decided, I don't ever want to pay for anything on the internet. Google should be free. Facebook should be free. Twitter should be free. Is it free? What have we paid for that free? Our data, our information, who we are. They take that, they package it, and they sell it to somebody who will pay for that information. I like Adam Ruins Everything because he cites articles for the information that he's going. So when you want to look at a particular piece of data, you can pause the video, look at the article, and go, I want to see what that researcher said about this. When that video came out, it said your personal data was worth about $12 a year to Facebook. So in exchange for $12 a year, we decided that our privacy does not mean anything to us. Yeah, take it. I don't want to pay you $12. When WhatsApp said that they would charge us $1 a year, what? I will use something else. $1. Too much, man. Too much. You offend me. Okay? Here's the deal. You are known. Anonymity is what we gave up. Facebook knows who you are. They know what your habits are. They know where you browse. Even if you've never clicked the like button, if that page has a like button on it, Facebook can track your user ID and say, oh, look, he visits this web page a lot. I've never clicked on anything. I never clicked the like button. That's all right. Google knows. No, Google too. Every time there's a G+ button, why do you think these buttons are everywhere? Like us, or let us track you. I mean, we're fine either way. Okay? Here's the biggie. They know your sexual orientation even if you don't. You can have never put that information online. And Facebook will say, I think this guy really wants to know about this exciting Caribbean cruise. Okay? Now, in general, we can feel, hey, this is exactly what I expected. I said yes to the privacy agreement. They got to know everything about me, right? Why are you making a big deal? We all did it. Don't be afraid of it. Well, that's true. But it's not just Facebook, right? How many of you have opened up your Google timeline? How many of you know you have a Google timeline? Next time you open up Google Maps, go to the little 3 bars on the left, click down, and it'll say timeline. Click on it. It'll give you a minute-by-minute breakdown of everything you've done ever since you turned on Google tracking on your phone. It knows which streets you've been on, where you stopped. It'll say, hey, you took a picture of your food here. Would you like to add this picture to your timeline so you always remember? You really should take a look at that fascinating world of how much you're tracked. I did. I recently downloaded my data from Google Takeout for funsies. The level of detail goes down to the individual 4 or 5 meters. Okay? Let me show you one little piece at a high level of what my heat map of locations looked like. Okay? That seems about right. This road, I take twice a year. There's another part of the map that has a nice, faint little blue trail on it. I've taken that one time in my entire life. Not only does Google have your heat map, it has your time related heat map? When do you go? What do you do? Who are you with? Okay? You are known. Even if you have decided, I do not consent to being tracked. Do not save my data. All right, guess what? You can't. And Google will obligingly destroy your data right after they have added your information to their statistics. It's anonymous. It's not your data. But I'm going to say that 6,000 people did visit the Expo Tatuaje last week, even those that didn't want to know where they were. But I'll just go ahead and add their statistics anonymously. Okay? How do you think real-time traffic is calculated anymore? I'm driving around with my phone, and my phone seems to be going super slow on this street. 72 phones seem to be going really slow on this street. There's probably bad traffic there. Let me reroute you. Okay? How about the popular times at a restaurant? Have you ever used Google Maps? And it brings up and it says, it's the busiest in about an hour. You're like, oh, I think I'll go in 2 hours. Like, less people there. Okay? You are known. This may not seem to be surprising or a bad idea, but an ethical problem arises. What happens when it's not just a couple of companies? What happens when it's the government? When a totalitarian regime or a company wants to know about the undesirables? Your politics, your religion, your sexuality, your prohibited opinions. Excuse me, did you say what about our candidate? You liked a page making fun of the president? And that is not outrageous. There are places where it is illegal to even criticize the regime. I believe Thailand is one of those places. Okay? So, what if instead of discrimination we just learn to exploit people's susceptibilities? Buy more of this. Do more of that. It's very important to make this clear again. This is not something that is inherently good or bad. Our choices do that. Okay? It is up to us to develop that ethical framework, to develop the rules of operation, the privacy laws, the use, the education that will guarantee the most ethical use of techniques. So at the end of the day, why artificial intelligence? Okay, all this good, all this bad, all this fear, all this not fear. Well, AI is one of those things that is transforming the world around us. Again, that's why the title, like an HTML tag, right? It's a modifier. We cannot ignore it. We can't ignore its applications, and we can't ignore its uses, especially when that means others will do it, use it, and zoom right past us. We must instead find ways to integrate AI and make it a part of turning us into productive, into more equitable, more prosperous, and more integrated societies. Okay? Now, we need to do better. According to a very recent study by the OECD, Mexico holds a very undesirable first place. Can you guess what we're number one. We're number one. It's not corruption. We're up there, though. Thankfully, we're not number one. Most hours worked per year per worker. And it's not just by a little bit. Do you know how many more hours per year we are working than the average wealthy OECD peer country, because they're considered our peers? 500 hours more per year. At 40 hours a week, how many weeks of extra work are you doing? Germany, which is the country with the lowest number of hours per worker, we're working almost 900 hours more. Okay? All this work is not being reflected in our economics, our productivity, our social stability, our structure, our integration. Okay? It's not commensurate to our effort. We can do better. You guys are here, most of you that are students, the others that had class at 1 o'clock. Okay? We must do better. And we will do better. Can you guess what's next? But in order to do so, we cannot be passive. Now, that's a cool video. All right, back to class. I'm glad I went to that conference. That was neato. We can't be passive. The speed of transformation is tremendous. Recently, I looked at an Industry 4.0 global survey where Latin America, well, not the whole of the Americas, only 34% of our companies were highly digitalized. That was in 2015. They predict that by 2020, how long is that from now? 2 more years? That in 2 more years, that number will be 74%. If you're working at a company, if you're educating yourself to be a transformative part of that company, if you've founded a company, in 2 years, if you're not there, you are now the bottom 25% of the Americas. That's fast. Okay? You may not use artificial intelligence directly. You may not think you do. But ask yourself the question. And for this, remember to use the microphones when you have something to say. Think about your own work. Where would your work benefit from an application of AI? I'd like to hear a couple thoughts. Anybody? How would your work benefit from using these tools?
Identifying the best students to enter the Master of Work and Organizational Psychology by their characteristics. Or, for example, the student can, by himself or herself, make the application and the exam, and you receive the data immediately.
And even at a company. Help me select my candidates that fit my work culture better. Always this has 2 sides to this coin, right? It can be a great tool and it can be a highly discriminatory tool. But yes, anybody else? Other than to schedule classes so they're not within 15 minutes of a conference. Nobody? Nobody has any thoughts about how artificial intelligence can help you? So sad. What do you do? Manufacturing. There will be very few aspects of manufacturing that are not collaborative with artificial intelligence. All the way from checking the quality of a finished product. You guys need to take a look at a video of BMW's new auto manufacturing plant in Germany. Very few humans. So optimizations, that's a big one. Optimizations is something that can be done anywhere. I'm going to escape out of this to see if we have any questions. So, we've got somebody there participating saying the Da Vinci surgery robot can help save lives by ensuring that a twitch or a mistake by the surgeon does not kill a patient. Okay? Optimization, we had at IIIEAS, I think 4 years ago, we had a couple of guys from France that are working in conjunction with the European Space Agency and whatever the European FAA is. And they were looking at optimizations for airport traffic management. No longer possible to be done efficiently by humans. And they were talking about an automated dome bubble that is calculated around the airport space. And once your airplane crosses that dome, it's up to the computers to tell you exactly where to go. And your dynamic path to landing or takeoff is being traced by the computers to maximize distance, minimize turn angles and fuel consumption and noise for every airplane entering that bubble. And these paths dynamically update as conditions change. Optimizations, no longer possible to be done by one super smart person sitting there with Excel. Anybody else?
Avelino.
Yeah, so the Da Vinci robot. Okay? Which is what we just mentioned. Anybody else? One more. Text analysis. Plagiarism detection. Right? Handwriting. Absolutely. We were talking a little bit earlier about how AI is now helping people detect whether breast cancer is a likelihood or it's benign. But how many other things could be detected? Google. Features, densities, cracks, future illnesses. Google just announced that they're able to do some cardiovascular prediction from pictures of your retina. Okay? Lots of great things, lots of good things out there, and we must allow ourselves to be a part of that. And if we lag too far behind, we're not going to make it. Now here I would like to plug the hackathon a little bit. How many of you have heard of the grad school's hackathon for next month? Nobody ever reads their emails. This has been delivered by email to every student and faculty member at this university. There's a hackathon. Some of your ideas on artificial intelligence or small programming could be applied here. Okay? You can look it up at UPAEP.mx Postgrados Hackathon. In a month, teams are going to gather. They're going to be given a specific set of instructions for a design that they must make that will include things like rapid prototyping and 3D printing for search and rescue. Okay? They will have all night to design their proposal, and the next morning they go into something like we can't say Shark Tank, but you get the idea. You get 3 minutes to defend your idea. And if that sounds like very little, it is, but it's doable. The international 3-minute thesis requires people to distill their entire doctoral research into 3 minutes for a competition. You can do it. The winners of that first competition will then get a month of access to our new state-of-the-art 3D printing facility to test their various ideas, practice, improve their design, and a month later, they will have an all-night design and construction competition where they will build their idea, test their idea, and the next morning, put their idea to the test. The winners will get a scholarship for their graduate studies. You could get a 50% discount on your doctorate or your master's if you're an undergrad. There will be an iPad, other smaller scholarships, and potentially other prizes at stake depending on our people that may sign up to give us support. This is happening right here. You can test out your ability to create a smarter machine to complete a task. So I would urge you, participate or ask friends or students to participate. This is open to anybody inside and outside of UPAEP. And though we don't have an age limit or a restriction, the major prize only has a 2-year term limit. So if you're in licenciatura and you still have 3 years to go, it's not a great idea because you'll win the first prize and then you're not done yet and your prize expires. So we generally like to say that people who have 2 years left on their licenciatura and up. Anybody that would want to participate. So look it up. Tell other people about it. Participate. Because the more that we do this, the more that UPAEP will get known as a place where people come to do amazing, transformative things. And the more that that will help you sell yourself to the employers later. I come from that school that does those incredible things. Okay? So thank you very much. I'll leave you some contact info there. Within about a month, this video will be up on YouTube. And you can track what's going on at the UFAB Twitter for this hackathon. You can track what's going on for IIIEAS. You can look at my own biomedical engineering lab or my own Twitter handle. You can see all the other conferences that we've had and some of the things we've already uploaded to YouTube down there at iideas.org.mx. Thank you very much. Questions? Thoughts, comments? With the microphone so they can hear you.
And when we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about neural networks?
Not necessarily, but yes, you can. So artificial intelligence is all automated learning that is done by a computer. Neural networks are a version of that that are deep learning,
Okay.
that are a subset of machine learning. So they are related, but they are not exclusively that.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? All right, yeah.
What happened with the Facebook AI that they were doing they were creating their own language, their own algorithm. What happened with that? Was that true? I mean.
Yeah. So
okay.
In the news, it came out creepier than intended. They developed their own little AI, and the AI was communicating with itself, trying to build a chat bot. But eventually, the AI created its own language, made up its own words, and was still having a conversation that humans could no longer decode. That freaked people out, and they turned it off. But it is an expected result. This is unsupervised learning with access to libraries and grammar rules. And so this thing simply created new words to communicate ideas with each other in ways that humans hadn't expected. Now, there's a very interesting development, because up until now, artificial intelligence has always been a black box issue. Okay? We have no idea how it did it, but it did it. You know, data in, results out. But that can be creepy, right? So a set of researchers have developed an AI that has a sub-function of explaining its reasons to you. Why did you classify this as a barn? Because I saw animals, fence, a building, and animals were behind the fence. Oh, okay. Why did you classify this person as a criminal? Because of the color of their skin. Oop, our data set is wrong. You know, let's find other things to put into our data set. So there is some incredible new work that's going to come out on us understanding these emerging intelligences. And we've got to understand that it's going to become that, us understanding them, because they will have the ability to evolve at a rate much higher than anything we'll be able to do. So we're going to have to generate these interfaces to understand their tools and effectiveness. That's up in the air. China is doing a lot of work. Have you guys seen the wonderful privacy protections the Chinese are now being afforded by their police officers? Let me put on these facial recognition glasses and observe my entire population from 10,000 different individual points. Oh, we need to talk to Maru. And the cop is getting a little blip going, would you please walk up to Maru and remind her that the government needs to talk to her. So in a totalitarian regime like that does its best to hide how totalitarian it is, they might have a lot of interest in investing in this kind of advanced technology. India is doing a lot of that work. The United States was going to be at the forefront, but some recent rule changes may make that harder. Things like the H-1B visa change. All of those talents that were staying in the United States after having their education there, it now costs up to 50% more to keep that talent there. And so fewer companies are going to keep them there, and they're just going to go back home. There's already a Silicon Valley equivalent in India. Okay? Mexico is building its own little Silicon Valley up in the Guadalajara and Jalisco area. And in fact, a lot of people from India are coming to Mexico to work in that region, specifically because of that. So this is up for grabs. Okay? There isn't a destiny to who's going to get to be at the forefront of this. This is much more democratized, and I think we have a chance to build really amazing and incredible things here. But we can't let the world go by without being an active part of this. Anybody else? All right.
Agradecemos la presencia del doctor Juan Manuel López Oglesby en esta ponencia y también la de todos ustedes. Van a ser bienvenidos cada miércoles y viernes en este proyecto del cual el doctor López Oglesby es fundador. Muchas felicidades, doctor.
Muchas gracias.
Esta es su diploma. Es su diario para que escriba cuánto aplicó la inteligencia artificial por cada día. Muchas felicidades.
Despierta. ¿Sabes qué día es hoy? Vas a transformar al mundo haciendo lo que amas. Vas a cambiar las reglas del juego. Vas a mover a otros. Busca, crea, innova, vuela. El mundo te espera. Transfórmalo. Hazlo, UPAEP.